Hey everyone, it's Aaron here. I'm just giving a brief introduction to this video on part 2 of masking. So please make sure to slow this video down if you need to. And I also have show notes on our Canvas module at all times. So if you want more sequential written steps and screenshots, that's there as well. But for this video, I would actually not like you to follow along because for our next assignment, we'll actually be doing something very similar to this. So no need to take notes. I have it all in the show notes. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy this. And if you need to slow it down on YouTube or speed it up, just keep in mind there's a little gear in the bottom, and you can change that to half speed, double speed, 0.25 speed. There's quite a few options. And then one other thing too is if the quality is grainy, please go ahead and click that gear and increase the quality, and you can do 1080 HD. I offer that as well. It's just a higher resolution. Okay, you should be really excited. We're already making big moves, and it's already, what, the second or third week? So just have fun and sit back and relax and just kind of work your magic in Photoshop. Thanks. Welcome back. We have Aaron here, and I am going to set you up for our next assignment. So this is an example, and keep in mind that all skills we practice here will be applicable to your next assignment. I just don't like to use the same assignment because that takes away some of the magic of you having to figure things out a bit on your own, but it's the same exact principles. I would just like you to apply it to a new file, but we're going to take this nice and slow, and I'm going to go through every step and be very articulate and make sure that you're understanding what our needs are here. And keep in mind, I'll have all of the details in the show notes on Canvas, so you can come back and reference that if you wish. So I have a picture in here of a home, and I will give you a picture on the next page of this module, so you don't have to worry about finding that. But I have it here, and it's looking good, and I am just going to make sure my background is labeled background, and I'm just going to hit that with the lock button, and that keeps me from accidentally messing with it. And just a reminder, to unlock that, you just click here, and to lock that, you click here. So we should be familiar with all of this interface right now. We went through and we talked about essentials already and setting those. We talked about all these tools and what they do. And then we even talked a bit about layers. So I want to take it slow and just kind of start to ease you into this. So do you remember how we made a logo? We're actually going to start using that. And so I want you to pull up your logo, okay? And remember, we are not judging based off talent here. These don't need to be works of art. Remember, we're getting our feet wet. And so what I want you to do here is start with just opening up this file, okay? And then we are going to, with the background, we are going to hide that. So do you see how it became transparent with that texture background? That is exactly what we want. So now that I have that transparent, what I want to do next is I want to go up to File, Export, Export As, okay? And PNG, okay? This export is a little different than the rest because the PNG is pretty unique. And by unique, I mean it means that the background, wherever we have checkers, that means it's invisible. So I want to click Export here, and I'm going to save that to my desktop. I'm just going to call it Blue Duck Design, Save. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my project right here, and keep in mind how you save your files is entirely up to you, but I'm just going to drag and drop my PNG in here, okay? And do you see that? How I can change the size of it? And right now, I do not want you to worry if you can't see your logo that well on the background. We will get to that in future modules. I just want you to get comfortable with importing something like that. And then let's just make sure it's labeled, which it already is. So just to give you a quick recap, what I did here is I imported our logo as a PNG. And I'm going to go back and just show you that quickly. I knocked out our background by hiding the eye. And then I went up to File, Export, Export As, PNG. And you don't need to play with any of these settings. That's perfectly fine what it defaults to. But now that I have it in here, what I want to do is I want to start masking. But before I do that, I need something to mask. So what I'll do is I just Googled the Victorian chair. I just drag and drop that in there. And for my PC users, you might have to save that to your desktop before you drag and drop. but with Mac it's pretty easy. It just lets you drag and drop from the web browser. But once I import that, I'm going to adjust it to a good size with these arrows here. I like to label that layer as chair, okay? And what I want to do next is I want to mask that. So by now you should have already done the follow along tutorial with the picture frame that has the little blue flowers in it. But just as a refresher, I have my image selected. I go down to this masking symbol, okay? Keep in mind a mask is meant to cover areas we don't want shown. And here we want to cover the white areas. We don't want those. So I'm going to click that, okay? And I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm using my trackpad here. And if you remember from our tool tutorial, that we have a whole gamut of tools here. So you can use this guy right here, the magnifying glass, to zoom in if you wish as well. But once I have that button clicked, you'll see here that I have this white portion, and I just want to make sure that that's selected. And now that I have that, what I want to do is I want to show you just a few techniques that we can use to really get this masked. Okay, so if you remember, we have the rectangular marquee tool, and then we have a whole gamut of tools here. In our tutorial, it defaulted to selection brush. We also have a lasso tool, polyagonal lasso tool, and then a magnetic lasso tool. So just to show you what that does, okay, that selects that. I made a little blob, and I can hit delete on my keyboard. Okay, and I'll just do it one more time. Let me show you a few other things here. So if I right click on this, I can get the selection brush tool, and we remember that. That's just really a blob. Okay, and then I can hit delete there. And that looks pretty good. And then what I want to do next is let's try out the magnetic lasso tool. So this guy right here tries its best to be really helpful, but it's not always bulletproof. So you can play around with that and see if you like that. That's just one option we have in our toolbox, but I want to show you a few other things. So right here, we have our object selection tool. If I right click here, I can get more, but keep in mind, I'm always on team lazy, and that's just not to promote laziness, it's just efficiency, especially when we're working in Adobe. So if you see here, I can either select my chair, or I can select this area over here. We have a few options, so I'm going to show you just this first way. So I selected this, I hit delete, okay? And now I want to select maybe another portion. Do you see here how it's not letting me select that? That is totally fine, but it looks like it has some left up here, so I'm just going to click that, hit delete, okay? And then I'm actually going to do Command D or Control D, and that'll just deselect what I have currently. Just makes things a little cleaner so I can see what's going on. All right, so you can see I don't have much going on here, and it won't let me select that. All right, so let's dig into a few things here and keep going. That tool isn't working anymore, which is fine. That just means we have to go on to plan B and try something else. Do you see how beautifully that worked? And I just select that and hit delete and remove it. Okay, that worked quite well. And we don't need things particularly perfect here because we're just learning. We just want this sort of as a warm-up, an introduction to Photoshop. So if I zoom in a bit, I can just hit this guy right here and right there and hit delete. Right? And you'll notice I also have this right here, this line. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back up here and select the selection brush tool and just clear that out. Okay? And I'm just selecting this. Mine does a pink line, yours may or may not. Just depends on your settings. But I'm just going through, selecting that line, and then hitting delete on my keyboard. And that'll get rid of that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I want to show you another technique. So if you saw that, we worked subtractively and we knocked out that background. That is totally fine. That's something you can definitely do. But what I would recommend is starting with that way, but I want to show you just another technique because we all work a little differently here. So I'm going to attach another mask to that. All right, and I want to just click on this right here, okay? Again, evaluate my options. Okay, I have that, and I also have this. And I have my select quick selection tool, object selection tool, magic wand tool, but also what we have here, if we click on this tool, is we have select subject, which can be really advantageous. This is a new feature in Photoshop. And if you see here, it selected it really well. And I have these marching ants. That's the technical term for it. But look what happens. I do not want that portion deleted. So what I can do, and I find this most easiest to teach, is I go up here, just up here. So I go up here, and I right click, select inverse. See ya. And that's that. And my chair is there. I can just click the move tool and move my chair around. Now it's flying, having fun. Okay, so that's really the first part of this. And the second part is I want you to make a new layer, okay, and I want you to call it spot heal. So if you remember from our first tutorial, I taught you how to, or one of our first tutorials, I taught you how to spot heal. And if we go over here, we can see our little band-aid. I believe that's meant to be a band-aid. I've always wondered that. But I click that here, and if that's not showing up for you, right-click, and you will get the rest of your options. So I am going to click my layer, spot heal, and I'm going to get rid of all of these ickies everywhere. Okay, we don't need to spend forever on this. I just want you to at least show me you're capable of removing some ickies from your image. And what we want to do, this is super important, so eyes up here please, sample all layers. Look what happens if I don't. It doesn't pick up anything. But look what happens when I do. Okay, let me zoom in here. Okay. All right, look how good that is. And I'm just going with the grain of the wood there. And one thing I want to show you is if you're not getting a circle for your little brush, hit caps lock, and that will change it from crosshairs to the circle. So I just want to get these big guys out of the way, just the ones that are really bugging me. I don't need to be too precise on this, and we will work on better techniques with potentially feathering out our brush a bit and making sure that we're getting different effects on here to make it feel a little more natural with this cleanup. But I am just going through and just cleaning up some components. And the smaller brush, the better, because I can get in there and be really detailed. Okay, just getting all of those ickies. And you can see here that starts to look a tish bit better. And then you know what, let's hit this area. This kind of looks like it's out of a Saw movie, and I don't want that. Okay, you can see it's not perfectly bulletproof, and that's okay. Just, you know, hack at it a few times and it will do its best. Okay, and let's get rid of that. Yep, see ya. So if you ever, in like high school or middle school, had Life Touch photos, this is what they do when they charge to touch up acne. And they charge like $50 or something outrageous for it. They're just using the spot healing tool, and you can see it is not worth $50 worth of work. I'm just going through and fixing that. Okay, we don't need to be too picky with that. In the assignment, I have exactly what I want you to fix there, but this is really the essentials. So let me recap real quick on what we did. We imported a PNG version of our logo in the bottom right. We masked a chair, and then we used a spot healing brush to clean up some areas. And I'll be very articulate in what exactly I want you to clean up in the next one, but that's really it. So this is more of an advanced technique here, compiling certain things together to create more of a cohesive project. If you have any questions, reach out via Canvas inbox, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.